Ephesians 2 does not begin gently, it begins with death. Not weakness, not confusion, not spiritual immaturity, death. Paul says plainly that we were dead in transgressions and sins, dead in the patterns of this world, dead in obedience to impulses we thought were freedom, dead in following desires we believed were identity. There is no self-improvement language here, no gradual climb, no upward momentum. Dead means powerless. Ephesians 2 removes any illusion that we began our faith journey from a place of strength. It confronts the human instinct to polish our story, to soften our past, to pretend we were always a little closer to God than we actually were. But then, in the middle of that blunt honesty, come two worlds that shift everything. But God. Not but you figured it out. Not but you tried harder. Not but you got disciplined. But God, being rich in mercy. The chapter turns not on our own effort, but on His mercy. Paul says it was because of His great love that He made us alive with Christ. Even when we were dead, not when we were improving, not when we were searching, not when we were finally serious. Even when we were dead, Ephesians 2 does not leave room for performance. Resurrection is not self-generated. You do not raise yourself. Grace is not a reward for movement toward God. It is God moving toward us when we could not move at all. Paul says we have been saved by grace. And then he repeats it as if we might miss it the first time. By grace, you have been saved. Grace means unearned, undeserved, unachieved. And then he makes it even clearer. It is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. Ephesians 2 dismantles the scoreboard. There is no spiritual ladder to climb, no ranking system, no quiet competition to appear more disciplined, more worthy, more impressive. If salvation is by grace, then there is nothing to perform for. There is nothing to prove. There is nothing to secure through effort. And yet performance culture seeps into faith easily. We begin to measure our mornings, our prayers, our routines, our habits. We compare how consistent we are, how structured we are, how strong we are. And slowly, without noticing, grace turns into achievement in our minds. Ephesians 2 pulls us back. You were dead. God made you alive. You were separated. God brought you near. The chapter shifts from individual rescue to communal reconciliation. Paul reminds us that those who were once far off have been brought near by the blood of Christ. Dividing walls have been broken down. Hostility has been destroyed. The barriers we built between people, between identities, between histories have been torn down in Christ. This is not performance. This is peacemaking initiated by God. We did not negotiate our way into unity. We did not earn access. We were invited. Ephesians 2 says, we are no longer foreigners and strangers. We are fellow citizens. We are fellow citizens, members of God's household, built on the foundation of the apostles and prophets, with Christ himself as the cornerstone. Notice the imagery here: household, foundation, cornerstone, temple. This is construction language, but it is not self-construction. We are being built together. We are being shaped. We are being formed into a dwelling place for God. We are not architects of our own redemption. We are living stones placed carefully by a master builder. And here is where the chapter balances grace with purpose. Paul says we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Grace is not the absence of action. It is the right order of action. We do not work to be saved. We work because we are saved. We do not perform to earn identity. We act from identity already given. This is grace, not performance. Grace means you begin the day already accepted, already known, already claimed. Grace means you do not have to prove your worth through productivity. You do not have to secure love through consistency. You do not have to measure your value by output. You were made alive. You were raised up. You were seated with Christ. That is not performance language. That is position language. Ephesians 2 anchors us in something steady before we ever move. If your faith feels like a treadmill, always running, never arriving, this chapter invites you to step off. If your spiritual life feels like an audition, trying to show God you are serious enough, disciplined enough, committed enough, this chapter closes the stage. You're not trying out for sonship. You're not competing for belonging. You were dead. God made you alive. That is grace. And because it is grace, your obedience can be joyful instead of anxious. Your discipline can be rooted in gratitude instead of fear. Your rhythm can flow from assurance instead of insecurity. Today is not about proving devotion. It is about remembering position. Before you journal, before you pray, before you act, you are saved by grace, not by performance. And everything that follows flows from that foundation.